Welcome to the Vineyard. My name is Pastor Debbie, and I'm one of the pastors here. And we're so excited you're joining us, whether you were here in person or online. Thank you for being here with us. Next weekend is a big weekend. Next weekend, a lot of money is going to be spent. There'll be champagne popped. At the end of the night, someone will even get a ring. Now, some of you might be thinking I'm talking about Valentine's Day, but I am not. I'm talking about Super Bowl weekend. Next weekend is Super Bowl Sunday, and we have some really fun stuff planned for you all here next weekend. Pastor Kevin will be up to tell you about that at the end of the service. But we have 2 teams left. 2 teams out of the whole season, 2 teams. We have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. So just out of curiosity, who thinks the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win? Oh, that was really weak. Who thinks the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win? I see. If you're online, just put in the chat, Eagles or Chiefs. Who do you think's going to win? Well, both of those teams started the season way back last summer in training camp with a dream. They started with a dream of winning the Super Bowl. They probably looked at one another and said, "We can do this. We've got this. Let's go." And that is the name of the series we've been in for the past month. Let's go. And we've been talking about the journey of faith we're on. And we talked about the phases of faith. It starts with a dream, just like those football teams. It starts with a dream. And then we decide to take action. Along the way, we face difficulties, delays, and dead ends. And last week, we talked about dead ends turning into deliverance. And it has been a phenomenal series so far. If you've missed any of it, you can get caught up on our YouTube channel or on our website. You can watch or listen to the messages. But what happens when deliverance doesn't come? What happens when the dream dies? Back to those 2 Super Bowl teams. One of those teams, along with the 30 other teams, are going to have their season end with a loss. Their dream of winning the ultimate prize will die. And for some of us, we have faced dead ends. We have waited patiently, or maybe not so patiently, for deliverance, and it just hasn't come. Our dreams might be crushed and die. And the impact of that, the seriousness of it can vary greatly. It might be like the football teams. You might just look at each other. You might look in the mirror at yourself and say, next season, it'll be better. We'll get it next time. Or it could be the death of a dream that just breaks you. It could be the death of a marriage, the death of a loved one, a pregnancy that never happens. Whatever it is, it could rock you to your core. There's no way to change the outcome. The dream has died. And it's moments like this that can shake our faith. And over the years, I have seen so many people walk away from Jesus when their dream dies. I've seen pastors, I've seen people in ministry for decades have their dream die, and they turn their back on God. And I do not want that to happen to any of us. So we've said all along in this series, if we know these steps of faith, we can be prepared for what's going to happen. That's why we have to talk about this subject today. It's not fun. It's not a feel-good topic. I love to give messages at Christmas time. Can't I give a Christmas message to you guys? Those are fun. Those are exciting. It's about a little baby come to earth. It's good stuff. It's great tidings of good news. But this message, it hurts. It's painful when a dream dies. But if we know what to expect, we can survive the death of a dream with our faith intact. And I think there's even more than that. I believe there's hope that you can survive the death of a dream with your faith even stronger. That's what we're going to talk about today. So this weekend, you can follow along with the message notes 3 ways. The first way is really easy. You can just watch the screens. Everything will be there. The Bible verses, the fill-ins will all be there. The second way, if you want to use paper and pen, we have paper message notes at the back at each pub table at the entrance. And thirdly, if you're a digital type of person, you can use our app. The message notes are there. And if you don't have our app, it is an awesome thing. It's like having Miami Vineyard right in your pocket. It's pretty cool. You can download that app by scanning the QR code in front of you, or you can just search in your app store for Miami Vineyard. And then when you download the app, go to This Weekend, and you'll see our message notes. So you can follow along however you would like. Last weekend, Pastor Kevin talked with an awesome message about dead end to deliverance. And he told the story of Abraham and Sarah, this really old couple that was promised a child, couldn't have a child, was super old, and miraculously, God gives them a baby. And they're just one examples of people we call heroes of the faith. At the end of the Bible, in a book called Hebrews, there's a chapter devoted to these heroes, and we sometimes call it the Hall of Faith. And it lists Abraham and Sarah, and it goes on to list other people like Moses, who parted the Red Sea, Joshua, who conquered enemy kingdoms, Gideon, a most unlikely warrior, Samson with his long hair and superhuman strength, David, who as a boy killed a giant with a slingshot. Names you've heard before. And then we read these words about these heroes of faith in verse 33 of chapter 11. By faith, these people overthrew kingdoms, ruled with justice, and received what God had promised them. They shut the mouths of lions, quenched the flames of fire, and escaped death by the edge of the sword. Their weakness was turned to strength. They became strong in battle and put whole armies to flight. Women received their loved ones back again from death. And I so wish this chapter just ended right there. Can I just put a period in it, say, next chapter, turn the page? But it doesn't. It doesn't end there. We go on to read these words. But others were tortured, refusing to turn from God in order to be set free. They placed their hope in a better life after the resurrection. Some were jeered at and their backs were cut open with whips. Others were chained in prisons. Some died by stoning. Some were sawed in half, and others were killed with a sword. But others, their dream died. They didn't receive what was promised to them. You know, Moses never made it into the promised land. David never got to build a temple for God. And today I want to talk about a group of people who individually and collectively experienced the death of a dream. And their experience was so devastating, so overwhelming, that the book in the Bible that describes this story is called Lamentations. Lamenting, weeping. It's 5 chapters of their story, 5 chapters of heartbreak. And these people lived 2,600 years ago, but human emotions haven't changed. So we're going to look at their story and we're going to see what we can learn. Before we dive in, let me give you a little backstory. Remember I said we talked about Abraham, who became this father of a nation. And these people, this one son, turned into a mighty nation called the Israelites. They grew to be so populous that Egypt enslaved them. They were slaves in Egypt, and along comes Moses. He sets his people free. He leads them out toward the promised land. They get the 10 Commandments. And there in the promised land, for 700 years, this group of people scrape and fight and put together their kingdom. In their kingdom, they have a capital city called Jerusalem, which we still hear of today. In the city, there were businesses and homes. And they even built a temple, a building where God lived, where they could meet him. Around their city, they built a wall to keep it safe from the enemies. And there, for 700 years, they lived their dream. But slowly, they walked away from God. Like so often happens, they strayed. And not only did they make spiritual mistakes, they made some really stupid political mistakes. And their neighbors, the enemy, the Babylonians, decided to go to war. So the Babylonians knew the only way they could defeat them, that they could take Jerusalem, was to surround it and create a siege. Meaning they didn't let anyone in, they didn't let anyone out. And that's exactly what they did for 30 months. That's 2.5 years. Now imagine if you're one of these Israelites stuck in this city for 2.5 years. No one in, no one out. And we thought COVID lockdown was bad. 30 months. They had no Uber Eats, no DoorDash, and food became scarce. And the city slowly starved to death. For 30 months, they waited for deliverance. We panic when Publix is closed for 30 hours, you know? Publix is closed for a day, and the next day we're knocking at the door at 7 a.m. Let me in. The starvation became so bad, we read about how mothers ate their children to survive. That's desperate stuff. That's desperate. You can read about the atrocities in Lamentations. And finally, after 30 months, the walls were broken down and the city was burned. The temple was destroyed, and most of the people who were left alive were taken prisoners of war back to Babylon. These people lost their dream. They lost their family, their friends, their businesses, their homes. They lost their church. They lost their country. They lost their freedom. Their dream died. They were in crisis, religious, spiritual, and political crisis. So I ask you, have you lost a dream? Have you had a dream die? Maybe it was similar to the Israelites. You lost your home. You lost your family. What dream has died? Maybe your dream of health or justice or financial stability didn't die quickly, but has slowly faded away day after day. It's just a slow decline until one day you realize the dream is gone. So the book of Lamentations not only tells the story, it tells about their feelings and emotions. It tells about the sadness, lamenting their loss, lamenting a dead dream, so we can learn from these people. What do I do when my dream dies? Here's number 1 in your outline. The first thing you do when your dream dies is you mourn and grieve. You mourn and grieve. You give yourself time and space to cry and mourn the loss. Listen to the words that the author of Lamentations says. Cry aloud before the Lord, O walls of beautiful Jerusalem. Let your tears flow like a river day and night. Give yourselves no rest. Give your eyes no relief. Rise during the night and cry out. Pour out your hearts like water for the Lord. Over and over in just these 5 chapters, the author tells us the importance of grief. Just listen to these phrases that are found. I sob through the night. Young women are crying. I weep. The tears flow down my cheeks. My heart is broken. My soul despairs. My groans are many, and I'm sick at heart. I have cried until tears no longer come. These are words of someone who is mourning and grieving. And I don't think we like to grieve. And I don't think we like to see other people grieve either. You know, we feel uncomfortable when someone else is crying. How many times have you patted someone on the shoulder and said, shh, it's going to be okay? And the truth is, it's not going to be okay. It's one thing to say that to your 2-year-old who skins their knee. It's another thing to say that to someone who's experienced catastrophic loss, because it's not going to be okay. Sometimes we don't know what to do. Here's what the Bible suggests. You cry right alongside them. Romans 12:15 tells us to weep with those who weep. We cry with them. And crying is good for us, believe it or not. But for me, I hate to cry. I am what's known as an ugly crier. Anybody else relate to that? Are you ugly criers? Oh, it's ugly when I cry. My face gets red and blotchy, and my eyes swell up and get puffy, and there is snot everywhere. I'm just an ugly crier. If you're online and you're an ugly crier, just write ugly in the chat. We'll know what you're talking about. I'm an ugly crier. But the science says that when we cry, it's good for us because our body releases chemicals that relieve our distress and physical pain. It's a built-in way from God for us to soothe ourselves. So more than a physical way that it's good, I think spiritually it's also good. I think grieving does something else. I think it opens this supernatural connection with God. Jesus explained it like this in his most famous sermon in Matthew 5. He said, God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. When we mourn, when we cry and grieve and pour out our heart, it gets God's attention and he supernaturally responds to us. It may seem strange to you, but I think of it like this. I have 5 grown children. And I love my children, but I'm really glad they're grown and all moved out of the house. Praise Jesus. I love it. And I love my kids, and I think about them all the time. But when one of them is sad or going through a hard time, they get my special attention. They have a special place in my heart. I think about them a little more often. I might do a little something extra for them. Just this week, my oldest son called me. And he was sad and struggling because his 2-year-old, my grandson, decided he hates going to daycare all of a sudden. And every day they drop him off, he cries and cries. And it made my son sad. And he said, what should I do? I don't know what to do. And so all day long, I thought about my son. He had my attention. I checked in with him later on in the day. How's it going? I do extra things for my kids, like if they're going through a hard time, I'll Venmo them $10 and say, get some Starbucks. And God is a way better parent than I am. Way better. So if we're mourning, it's going to get his attention in a special way. So don't skip this step. Don't skip the beauty of grieving. You might be an ugly crier like me, but your grief accomplishes something beautiful. And I say beautiful because it's a special place where God meets us. Several years ago, I had this experience. I was on the receiving end of God's comfort. I lost a sister after a long battle to cancer. She was 49 and she left behind a husband and 2 sons, and it was devastating for my family. And I grieved. I grieved for my sister never being able to see her sons marry and have grandchildren. I grieved for her husband who was left without his life partner. I grieved for my nephews who were without a mom. I grieved for myself because I didn't have my sister, my friend. But in that grief, God met me. In that grief, he was so present with his peace and his comfort. And even though it was an ugly time, an ugly chapter in my life, it was a beautiful time of experiencing God's presence. If you're listening today and you feel like your dream has died, whatever kind of dream you have, a business that didn't make it, a family that just didn't survive, a marriage, a career, your health, maybe the loss of a loved one like I had, whatever you've experienced, I encourage you to cry out to God and give your grief to him. Tell him your hurt and your pain. And if you know someone who is going through a season of grief, give them the time and space they need to grieve. That's weeping with those who weep. That's how we can be a people of compassion. And that verse in Romans also goes on to say, rejoice with those who rejoice. And we've done some rejoicing here on staff at Miami Vineyard because in the last 4 months, staff members, 3 of them have had babies. And it's been awesome. It makes my little abuela heart happy to see all these babies. And if I was thinking, I'd have a picture of them because they are 3 beautiful girls. It's girl power, baby. Just 4 months ago, our worship director, Deborah, had a baby girl. And then a couple weeks ago, our kids' church director, Miss Kathy, had a baby girl. And that very same week, our social media coordinator, Mei Ling, had a baby girl. So we're rejoicing with these families over their babies. And all 3 of those women have or are taking time to heal from the experience. Because when you carry a child inside you, when they're attached to you and growing, and then they're not there anymore, it leaves a literal physical wound inside you. And a dream is like that. When a dream is inside of you and growing, and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore, it leaves a wound. And that brings us to point number 2. What we need to do when a dream dies is we need to stop and heal. Stop and heal. And this is a tough thing to do because we don't like to slow down, do we? We don't like to just be still. We don't like that. But over and over in the Bible, God tells us to do that very thing. Psalm 37:7, be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act. Psalm 62:5, let all that I am wait quietly before God, for my hope is in him. And then in Lamentations, the very book we're talking about, so it is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. And here's my favorite verse, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. There seems to be this connection between stillness and acknowledging God. It's a moment where we stop doing and we let God be in charge, not us. And I've seen so many people do just the opposite of this. They try to fill that void in their life, that empty place where the dream has been. They try to fill it with activities and hobbies and busyness and other people. I've even seen them try to fill it with serving here at church. Now, I love all the volunteers who serve here. We call them Team Vineyard, and we could not do what we do without Team Vineyard. From the people who are watching our kids and working with our youth, to the production and worship and sound team, to the hospitality team who greets us with smiles. All of them are wonderful, and we could not do this without them. But if you are serving just to cover up that void in your life, it becomes unhealthy. It becomes a cover-up. Just like if you cover up a physical wound without really treating it, it's going to get infected, and it can kill you. It's the same for our souls in these wounds. If we don't take the time to heal properly, it can kill our relationships, our faith, and can kill any future dreams. So don't hide your hurt behind serving and busyness. Just stop and heal. Be still and let God be God. And others, instead of turning to busyness, they might self-medicate to find that numbness. They might fill the emptiness with drugs and alcohol, pornography, chocolate, social media, video games, whatever, just anything to have a moment of numbness and not to feel the hurt of the death of that dream. If you've chosen this path, we have a great group for you called Celebrate Recovery. They meet every week. They're here to help you with your hurts, habits, and hang-ups. Not only do they meet in English, there's also a Spanish group of Celebrate Recovery, if you prefer that. And we've just started a teen group of Celebrate Recovery called The Landing. And so after the service, you can head on out to the lobby. They have a table out there. They'd love to answer any of your questions. We also have other groups that can help you if you're struggling with the death of a dream, like Grief Share, Divorce Care, and just any of the small groups, to find community, to find someone who can come alongside you and help you through this difficult time. So we mourn and grieve, we stop and heal, And we pick up our story in Lamentations to see our third point. In the next verse or passage, I didn't print. I didn't put it on the screens because I don't want you to read it. I want you to feel it. So I'm going to read a passage to you. You might want to just close your eyes and just try to imagine what these people felt. And maybe it echoes what you're feeling or have felt. God has led me into darkness, shutting out all light. He's turned his hand against me again and again all day long. And though I cry and shout, he shut out my prayers. He's blocked my way with a high stone wall. He's made my road crooked. Everything I had hoped for from the Lord is lost. The thought of my suffering is bitter beyond words. I will never forget this awful time as I grieve over my loss. Do you feel that? Did you feel that hurt and that anguish? And some of you are feeling that today with the death of your dream. You might not have lost what these people lost, but loss is loss. And you feel it. And I am so glad that this chapter doesn't stop here. I am so glad that it keeps going, that there's not a turn the page, put a period here, we're done. There's so much more, and you have to hear the words that come after this. And the next words are words I think you have probably heard before. They're words you've said. They are words you have probably sung before, but you've never realized that they come on the heels of what I just read. Here is the hope we hold on to. Yet I still dare to hope when I remember this. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. And I say to myself, the Lord is my inheritance. Therefore, I will have hope in him. That's what we hold on to, and that's what brings us to point number 3. When your dream dies, you have to dare to hope again. Dare to hope again. This is the hardest step of all. When we have been hurt by a dead dream, we don't want to hope again. We don't want to dream again. And at the start of this series 5 weeks ago, Pastor Kevin asked us a question. He said, do you want to have a stronger faith in 2023? Well, let me ask you the same thing. Do you want to end the year with a stronger faith than you started? If you do, this is exactly how you do it. You have to be brave enough, strong enough to hope again. That's how you get a stronger faith. And it might sound impossible to do. When you feel so defeated and discouraged and your dream has just been shattered, the thought of doing it all over again, of trusting again, of going through the difficulties and delays and dead ends and waiting for the deliverance. I don't want to do that again. No, thank you. But the author of Lamentations discovered you can hope again. You can dream again. You can believe when you remember that God's love never ends. The miracle might be in short supply. The breakthrough might have got stuck. The deliverance was a no-show, but his love is another story. His love never fails. It never gives up. It never runs out on me. And there is no shortage of his mercy and faithfulness either. They are abundant, they are sustainable and renewable. So as we end today, I want to leave you with 2 questions. Now, I think as you answer them, they're going to help you survive with a strong faith when you're faced with a dying dream. Here's the first question. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? Are you looking at God's hands? Are you looking at God's face? And here's what I mean by that. When we look at God's hands, we're looking at what he can do for us. What can he create? What can he heal? What problem can he solve? What mountain can he move? What giant can he slay? God, what can you do for me? The author in Lamentations realized when he looked for what God could do for him, he didn't experience deliverance. But when he looked to God's face, when he looked to God's presence, when he looked to who God is, not what he does, he found hope. Are you looking at his face? Do you just want his presence? Do you just want to be with him? That's how you survive with a strong faith. You look for God's face. The second question is this: where are you going? Where are you going? What's your final destination? If you're following Jesus, your destination is guaranteed. But when we confuse our dream with our destination, that's when we get in trouble. Because the dream may not come through for us. The dream might not happen, but your destination is guaranteed. You are promised, as you follow Jesus, to be in heaven, to be with him, to be like him. That will not fail. That will not fail. So where are you going? We started by reading Hebrews 11, and the chapter lists the great men and women of faith, and then it tells of many who just didn't get to live to see the dream realized. And here's how that chapter ends. Verse 40. For God wanted them to wait and share the even better rewards that were prepared for us. That's why the people in Hebrews 11, the great men and women of faith, could keep going when their dreams died. It's why we can keep going, because we know our destination. We know where we're going. We knew that sometimes God can redirect a dream. Sometimes God might have someone else fulfill your dream. All we can hold on to is that we have a better reward coming. We have a promise of eternity, and that dream will neither fail nor die. So look to God's face. Hold on to that promise of heaven. Let's go. Let's go. So let's pray together. Let's pray together. And if you could just bow your heads and close your eyes to block out distractions. God, we just invite you to come. And God, this has been a hard place to go. It's hard to talk about when deliverance doesn't come. It's hard to talk about our dreams that fail. It's hard to admit our heartbreak. But God, we admit it to you. And we cry and we grieve. And God, I pray that you make us a people who can cry with others. God, I pray that you give us compassion for those who are grieving and mourning. God, will you give us a heart to see other people's hearts? It might be our neighbor, our coworker, whatever they're going through. Help us weep with those who weep. And Father, I pray for those who are mourning that you will comfort them. I pray for something supernatural to happen right now, Lord, that in the midst of their ugly crying, beauty will come out of it. Will you meet them where they're at, God? With that comfort, with that peace, in a way that they can't explain, that they don't understand, but they just know it's real. And Lord, I pray for those who might not be sure about their final destination. If that's you and you're saying, I've never really thought about this before. I've never thought about this following Jesus. If that's you, there's an invitation on the table today before you. And God is offering you that promise of heaven, that promise of being with him. All it takes is to say yes to him. It's that easy. It almost seems too easy. If that's you, in your heart, just say, yes, Lord. Yes, I want that. I want you. I want to follow you. Lord, thank you that we can be a people that move on this journey of faith together. And Lord, I pray that you bless each one of them, no matter where they are in their journey. Bless them and keep them safe. In Jesus' name, amen.